Hello, my name is Sergeant Matthew Malinowski, and I'm the department's Public Information Officer. In that role, it's my main job to get you timely and accurate information. Today we've teamed up with Neighborhood Watch to create a video explaining the 911 process and what is the best way to receive police services if you need them. There seems to be a little bit of confusion within the community and how to go about calling 911, what should I be calling 911 for, and hopefully this video helps to clear that up. Before we get started, just want to point out our social media pages and ask you to follow those. That's going to be the best way for you to be informed, engaged, get emergency notifications, and have direct contact with your police department. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so I invite you to please follow us on those. Okay, at this time I'd like to talk about the 911 process and how that works when you need a police officer or need some police service. First, there has to be an incident. And an incident could be anything from a parking complaint to a shooting to a robbery, anything that you feel that you need a police officer and you have to call 911. It's important to know there's several different numbers to call 911, non-emergency numbers. The best way is just to dial 911, and that's how you're going to get in contact with a call taker. Now, it's important to know that the 911 Communications Center is a county-run organization, so when you're making that initial call to 911, it's going to the county 911 center. From there, they have call takers who will get information from you and build a call in to go to the officer. From the call taker, it goes to a dispatcher. That dispatcher is the one that's in communication with the police officer that will direct the police officer to the location he needs to go for the police service. So it's important to know when you call 911, you're not directly speaking to the dispatcher and you're not directly speaking to the police officer. A lot of the times people will get frustrated when police show up late on a scene or their call was waiting for several hours. It's important to know that the officer does not have direct control or communication with you when it comes to that. It goes through this process. When you do call 911, depending on what your call is actually for, it falls into three priority types. That's how we have to triage the calls. And it's important to know what type of call level that you are asking from the police service, and that also determines at what time we dispatch the call and how long it takes us to get there. So if you look, priority 1 calls, they're on the top. Those are going to be any type of call where a hazard to life exists, a hazard to property, where a quick response is needed, and typically things that are in progress. Any type of alarm, a medical complaint, personal injury, auto accident, and your high-level felonies, shootings, burglaries in progress, robberies, things like that. Priority 2 level calls are going to be things that are more investigative in nature. They're no longer in progress. The suspect has left the scene. And then we have priority 3 level calls. That's pretty much everything else that I haven't discussed that are low-level priority type of things like noise complaints, trash complaints, follow-up investigation, harassments that are not in progress. So everything else other that's not serious. Why this is important that you know the priority process is because if your priority 3 level call that's been holding for a while is the next call for the officer to take, any of these other priority level calls that come in will trump your priority 3 level call, and then you continue to get pushed down the line. That's just a necessary process that we have to try to keep up with the amount of calls that we take as a police department and with the current staffing issues that we're having. Okay, I'd like to take a little bit of time just to talk about how the city's organized, how it's broken up, which division you're in, and how that's ran. Seems to be a little bit of confusion in our community with who do I call, 911 or the captain who oversees my district. So the city's broken up into 3 districts, each which are overseen by a captain. Now these are administrative positions where the captain has to oversee the police officers that work in the area. He has to keep an eye on the crime that occurred in that area, and he predominantly works day shift hours. After that, the captain spends time going to neighborhood watch meetings and other type of meetings to speak with the public. Anything that you're going to need an immediate police response for, it's important that you are calling 911. We've had incidents where cars have been getting broken into, suspicious people are in neighborhoods, and residents are emailing the captain or trying to call him on his office phone, and we're missing some of the calls. So it's important to know if there's anything you need a police response for, 911 is going to be the best way to communicate that. Anything that's a prolonged issue that's been going on in your neighborhood, a rundown house, a drug house, some sort of abandoned property, speeding complaints that are long-term issues, those would be more things that a captain would be inclined to address directly. But no, again, if it's something that you need an immediate police response, if you're trying to report a crime, it's important that we're going through the 911 process. That's going to be the best way for an officer to get to your location and help you. Lastly, in closing this video, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about CompStat. If you've never heard of it, it stands for Comparable Statistics. It's where we as a police department, we meet weekly with all the different sections of the police department, and we come together and we look at the crime that's occurring in our city. If you want to be a more informed citizen and know what's actually going on in your neighborhoods, we provide the CompStat reporting online. So if you go to syracusepolice.org and you go under the CompStat tab, you have an opportunity to pull up CompStat reports, which are specific to each section of the city. You can see the violent crime that takes place in your community, the property crime that takes place, also the calls for service. We also compare those numbers to the year before, a year-to-date comparison, and also an average of over the last 5 years. Again, I would like to just remind everyone, follow us on our social media pages. It's going to be the best way for you to connect with your police department. You're able to send us direct messages, pictures, videos, and things going on in your community. Also, you're able to see some of the community engagement that's taking place as well. Thank you.